Honestly, I'm a pretty much docile person. I don't go hating on people for like no reason. But sometimes the hater in me comes out and just likes to have fun. Well, even makes it even more fun when it's someone who completely deserves it. Like the character we're talking about today, Diane from For My Derelict. The reason why we're hitting on Diane today for the backstory, Hestia is a girl who was transported inside a novel that she's reading, and she gets to see her three characters, Diane, Helios, and Cal. And Cal is Hestia's basically her husbando. And what she does in the original novel run, basically will just watch from afar and just let the original story continue. The story plays out as it should be, but the problem is like she thought she would go home. Obviously, that does not happen, and she's stuck in there for years. And in the process, she reads the new stories like how Kingdom's in trouble, Cal tries to kill herself multiple times, and obviously the crown princess and the king are not in good terms. And at this point she's kind of like fed up, and this is where she meets Cal in the woods. Basically they chit chat for a bit. Hestia leaves, and when she comes back she finds that Cal kills herself, and she's obviously mad at Diane because Diane basically pushed Cal to this point, because not only did she just say like, hey, I don't feel the same way for you, she also like scolded him for killing the basically dukedom and his family for their crimes and forcing Helio to marry their daughter. And the reasons why this is forcing Helio to do so is because if he didn't, then they would go split off and form their own dukedom, which would threaten the kingdom and that power. And you may thinking, for people who just haven't read the series, like, oh, so we're just hating her because she said no to my boy and scolded him. No, it's more than that. It's just more of her character in total, like, which is why we hate her. And I'll be going through her offenses, so why we, the reader base, as hates her, and why you should hate her as well if you decide to read the show. Her first offense was when Helios and Dan was confronting Hestia about how she went into the church to get the land back that Cal donated under Diane's name to give her more legitimacy, because she's a saintess but of a commoner background, so obviously she didn't have much position. So he did this to raise up her status. Now the reason why Hestia went to go get it back is to basically help Cal into like severing any like past ties basically. But Dan, being naive, was like, well, this belongs to God. But Hestia brings up like, if you want Cal to move on, you might as well just let him take this back and let him be well. Like, and the first offense isn't too bad, but when we go on the second offense and even further, it gets really bad for Diane. Because in the second offense is when Diane went to go see the princess. Also like get like information about the tea party, since that's under tight lips, in exchange for some information. And during the process, she shows off this pink ring that was originally meant for Diane, until she said no to Callus. And she's obviously doing this to make her flustered. And the end result was she was expecting when Hestia was gonna say like, hey, oh, this reminds me of your eyes, and realized, oh, this was not meant for me but meant for her, that she was gonna say like, oh, that's not the case. But she didn't do that. She was remaining silent, and basically showing like, oh, she doesn't care that if it was known if it was meant for her or not. Basically, she just didn't want to see Hestia happy. And from here it gets worse into the third scenario, or the third offense. So Hestia is at the tea party that the crown princess set up. And the point of the tea party she was trying to make is how nobles should be more frugal for money. But that didn't go for well with the way she did it. And Hestia was catching on to what she did. And obviously like, or saying like, oh, this reminds me of my comedy days. Like, she was trying to use this in her own benefit, but during the process, she has the audacity to say to Hestia, like, oh, I hope you fall for my example. But the thing is, she's the crown princess wearing the most expensive dress with the most finest materials. So I'm not sure where she's getting off saying this when she's living the lifestyle that everyone else is living. And this goes on the fourth offense, since they're both in the same scene. As this talk is going on, I forgot the madam's name, but she's wearing the blue dress and sitting at the same table as Hestia. She brings up Cal, which was the plan these two discussed before. And the thing is, Hestia says like, oh, I believe my husband was in the right. There was no fault at all. And the thing, Diane obviously says like, oh no, what Cal did was wrong. And the thing with this is, because of what Cal did, it helped her. And the people that Cal killed, the Orcus family, like, besides them being the original villains of the story, and besides them threatening to lead the dukedom, they were doing some other bad stuff, as basically like selling humans and killing anyone that got in their way. They're like bad people. And Hestia criticizing Cal hurts her, because the only reason why she was able to marry Helios is because of Cal leading no opposition in her way. And if she is criticizing her, she's also criticizing her own position. But since she already went against Cal, she can't backtrack now because it leaves her up to ridicule for blaming a blameless man. And at this point, this is beyond idealistic. I think, well, the book actually talked about it herself. Basically, she's over arrogant. Like she, before the original novel like ended, everything's going her way because she was always the female lead. But now the novel is ending, the story can go either way. So because everything is going her way so far, she thinks like, oh, if I keep doing what I'm doing, things will just go well for me. And as we continue on, in her fifth offense, this happens after the tea party Diane hosts. She's asking Helios if she Disney, if basically we Disney around the Kalos. And at this point, Helios was being an element into Kalos. And this is a chance to turn things around, even if it is too late. And he says like, no, let me actually just tell her the truth and just hope things will turn around from here. But when he actually tells her the truth, maybe we should just reconsider and apologize for the things we did to Kalos. He says, what do you mean? I thought you were going to support my decision and say I did nothing wrong. And at this point, I'm like, why were you even asking for his opinion? You just wanted reassurance. And he replies, there's just nothing wrong with considering just if we did anything wrong. Then she says this line, if I go back now on what I said, what does that mean for life I loved until now? And as I'm reading this, I'm like, it's not that deep. Just take it out. It's okay to be wrong. And just this point, I've already been fed up with Diane, but like at this point, like I was just really done with her. And this goes on to her sixth offense, in which what happens is basically the king, Helios, Diane, Hestia, and Kalos are in a meeting together because the king wanted to meet with Kalos and Hestia since he never got a chance to meet with Hestia before. And during the conversation, Kalos brings up, there's a rumor going around that you're not in good health, but I'm glad to see that's not true. And the meeting concludes and it goes on the show Cal and the king, which is his father, talking. And the king basically brings up like, hey, Diane's been healing me all this time. I kind of know it's not already working at this point. You should go to your wife and tell her, hey, no matter what happens, I'll be with you. Everything will be okay. And Helios taking his dad's advice, listen to him and let's go talk to Diane. And in the process of talking to Diane, he just says, look, I know everything, your healing powers isn't what they used to be. It's okay. I'll always be with you in the rough and hard times. And basically Diane says, oh, what are you talking about? My healing powers are just fine. He says, I know the truth. Don't worry about it. Like, we're husband and wife. I love you. And she asks, did Hestia tell you? And in this story, he gets silent because like Hestia did tell him. And then in the conversation, they have a little fight, basically saying like, hey, where Diane basically says, Hestia told me not to tell anyone. While Hestia told to Helios basically that Diane's losing her powers, and she told her not to tell anyone. Basically, Hestia, our main girl, playing games with both of them, which I enjoy. This isn't bashing on Hestia. This is still bashing on Diane, but still in the process, still being manipulated by Hestia. She says like, she chose Hestia's side because like the prophecy hasn't lied. Hestia's been writing everything, and he still says like, I'm still with you and all that. I gotta go and just finish up some other work. And what she says in her dialogue, your words of I love you mean nothing, because if you said you love me, it means you'll believe me. And then she goes on to think like, you know what, if I chose Cal, this will never happen. Even though we can't be cold and merciful for the time, he was warm to me. I should have chose Cal over you, and I should take him back from that woman who stole him. And I'm here at this point like, stole him? Girl, you left him. And at this point, like, I'm beyond done. And I know it's not the end for Diane because season 2 still will be coming out soon, and probably access will get even more worse than what we've already probably seen already. But that's all I have for the video today. Like and subscribe, and until next time.